Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, it's some Canelo news. Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing. Lately I haven't had too many good things to say about him, except he's an awesome fighter. Well, I haven't had a few good things to say about him, but hey, we're looking at September. I think it's this year, the 12th date. It's the Mexican holiday, and we've been trying to figure out who we're going to have as a Canelo opponent, and the names are coming at you. Quigley, Jason Quigley, I think his name is, John Ryder, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Willie Monroe coming at you, Toriano Johnson. Not names that you'd be like, well, face of boxing, what we're going to do here when we have people in the middleweight division, super middleweight division, and light heavyweight division that are very formidable that we could be talking about, but we just won't. If it's the light heavyweight division, you're talking about better Biev and Bivol. Luckily, Wojciech, right? Ukraine bring the pain. Luckily, Wojciech is not fighting anymore. But those are ones he could have in light heavyweight. And super middleweight, shoot, Caleb Plant and Benavides. Great fights. But, he's talking more Callum Smith because Callum Smith had a hard fight against John Ryder. And in the middleweight division, I don't have to even really continue to talk about it. Demetrius Andrade, which could have been undisputed fight, and your boy Jamal Charlo, who those two guys have been trying to fight him since 2015. I think Demetrius Andrade since 2013, to be honest with you. But, Canelo Alvarez was having an interview with somebody. I don't even know who the guy was right now. I forget. But he had an interview, and he was just saying, his fight against Floyd Mayweather, he doesn't consider that a loss. He didn't consider it a loss at the time. He said, shoot, man, that was an apprenticeship. It was cool. He had about 45 fights, but I guess he's acting like it was the beginning of his career. But, you are stepping up when you're fighting Floyd Mayweather, but that's just him, anybody. So, okay, he could still say he was young. I think he was 23 years old at the time, but had 45 fights now. So it's apprenticeship. But he also said, and this was got interesting to me, that the Floyd loss was boring, right? Man. I don't know how people continue to say stuff like Floyd Mayweather fights was boring. How is it boring for Floyd's little old self, little and old, to outsmart, be faster, and embarrass this so-called face of boxing or future face of boxing, who at the time was calling Floyd Mayweather out? He met him at a 152 weight, which is too big for Floyd Mayweather, but he met him there. Canelo came down to 152 for 154. And, that's what Canelo wanted. So he got it, and he got whitewashed. I don't see how that's boring. Because if that was boring, then Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin 1 was boring. When Canelo was doing the moving, right? Or Tyson Fury versus anybody, right? Except the last fight against Deontay Wilder was boring because he's, anybody that wins fights. And it's funny, when you're on the wrong side of a fight, it's boring. Pacquiao against Mayweather was supposed to be boring, and it was everything but boring. It was an awesome display of talent from Floyd Mayweather's side. But anyway, Canelo really believes he's a pound for pound fighter because he said in the article, I'm only the second Mexican guy behind with Julio Cesar Chavez who has ever made it to pound for pound, which is cool. But Canelo isn't pound for pound. I think Julio Cesar Chavez and anybody who they put at pound for pound should categorically be the best at least one weight division. I think, is that too much to ask? Right? Where, like, okay, if you're gonna be pound for pound, let's not forget the meaning of that. That means if everybody was the same weight, you the baddest dude out there. That's what that means. That's what they meant when they gave it to Sugar Ray Robinson at the beginning. That's why it exists. Because it's like, oh, we don't care who the heavyweight champion is. This dude right here, if everybody was the same size, Sugar Ray Robinson would be the best. That's what that means when we do. So we just can't just be giving it to people. So do you think that Canelo, no matter what weight, is better than everybody? Because if so, what division is Canelo the very best at? Super middle, light heavyweight, right? Can we just say he's better because he has a win over Kovalev, that he's better than Dmitry Bivol, and better than Beterbiev? Can we say that? You answer that. In super middleweight, can we categorically say, because he has a win over Roy Fielding, that he's better than Caleb Plant, who just whitewashed Vincent Feigenbutz, or David Benavidez, who ain't nobody even knocking at his door at all? They tore the doorbell off, so they don't have to knock, so they can knock, and they ain't gonna knock anyway. So hey, man, I couldn't get with you, man. Your doorbell don't work. right? Ain't nobody messing with Benavidez in a hurry if your name ain't Charlo. But anyway, so Canelo's not categorically the best at super middleweight. We can't say it. Why we can say it, but like people do. But you have to fight one of them. Roy Fielding wasn't one of the top five, right? So that does that qualify you? Kovalev was not the best super light heavyweight, right? Does that qualify you? So is Canelo categorically the best middleweight? People say it, but you know damn well he ain't better than Demetrius Andrade or Jamal Charlo without him fighting them and doing everything in his power not to, right? And if we go back to junior middleweight, back when he was fighting, it was Jamel Charlo, champion, Jamal Charlo, champion, and your boy Demetrius Andrade, champion. Didn't fight neither one of them down there either, right? Now he beat Lara barely, if you want to count that as a win, and he beat Austin Trout with open scoring, which I always talk about. And there wasn't any separation in any of those fights. Trout lost to other guys though. I'm just saying, so what weight is Canelo the very best? Right? But when you talk about Alexander Usyk, if you put him pound for pound, you would be able to say, yeah, he was undisputed at cruiserweight. That's why. Now he's going to try his luck at heavyweight. Doesn't matter what he did because at cruiserweight, he beat everybody in their backyards. That would be an argument because you know what you would be able to say? Usyk done that, beat everybody in their backyards in a tournament which all the best cruiserweights were, and he beat everybody at home, right? In front of their families, right there. That's a reason to talk about number one pound for pound because no, you can't say that about anyone else in boxing. Then you can say, well, Terrence Crawford, because he was the baddest at 135, went to 140, beat up everybody, was undisputed, which is only him and Usyk who has done, and he's at 147, raising a whole lot of hell. Either he's 1A or 1B. Those are reasons. They're the very best at a couple of weight divisions, right? That's what you can say. Demetrius Andrade, I would argue him number one pound for pound just because there ain't nobody trying to fight me in my middleweight or junior middleweight. I couldn't get fights then. I still can't get them. Why? I speak English. I win all the time, and ain't nobody calling me. Right? That's an argument. I would argue that he's the very best middleweight. Right? Floyd Mayweather was number one pound for pound because he was the very best everywhere he was. Right? There's things. Pacquiao, well, very best something, at least maybe at 140 pounds, and the second best welterweight when Floyd was there. There's things where you put some people number one pound for pound. Just can't just do it. Because, like I said, when you answer, if you do, tell me where you think Canelo is categorically the best. And here's the thing. Make sure when you say, hey, well, Canelo is the best middleweight because he would beat up Demetrius Andrade. He would beat up Charlo. Then you'll be like, well, where are you getting that from? Did he do that to Lara? Did he do that to Trout? Right? Did he do that to Jacobs? Did he do that to Golovkin? Who did he beat up like that? So where would you be getting that from? Leave the emotion out. Come with some damn common sense. Bottom line is, the fight against Floyd Mayweather wasn't not boring. It wasn't even close. It was a old guy and a smaller guy beating up a bigger young guy. That's not boring unless you're just hoping for something else. That's when it always gets boring. Because what did I tell you boring is? Boring means you don't have a damn thing to cheer about. That's all boring is. Nobody calls a fight boring when they fighter is winning. Right? That's what boring is always. Always. Somebody's fighter lost and got embarrassed doing it, and then it's boring most of the time. So, and I don't think the Canelo's number one pound for pound. Is he top 10? Yeah, in the second half of top 10, but he's not number one, and those are the reasons. Doma Sports Talk worldwide, and I'm up out of here, y'all.